my father was quite ill. He had a brain hemorrhage.
Right.
So he was left in a nursing home needing 24-hour care, and so I was in a really difficult position kind of going back and forth from Spain to UK, and about a year after we got married he passed away.
Right.
So that was really hard for me, and I'd moved to a new country where you're supposed to be in southern Spain where you're in the sun and you're meeting friends and learning the language, and I was looking for a new job out there, but I was just not motivated to do any of that, and I was just in grief.
Hi everybody and welcome to FEBE Founder Stories, and awesome to be joined by the co-founders of LoveRaw today. So Remy, Manav, lovely to see you. How are you?
Good.
We're good.
I think we did our first interview, a written article about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely loved, and it's been nice. Like a friendship's come from that, hasn't
definitely.
it? We're always in touch. So to have you here is great, and I think what I'd love to be able to do today is just, when I interviewed you for the article.
Yeah.
We put the story on paper.
Yes.
It'd be lovely today to put the story, obviously, into film.
Okay.
Because, it's always interesting when I think any co-founders build a business. It's very interesting when husband and wife build a business. And so I guess, when was the moment? Take us back to, when was the first, Remy, it was actually you that had the idea, wasn't it? I saw on LinkedIn the other day that you actually went to Spain to try and start it. But over to you. Explain to us the start of LoveRaw.
So it was a number of kind of life events that led me to starting LoveRaw. And I say kind of unfortunate but fortunate, because we've built a business from these events. I met Manav, and I was in London and Manav was in Spain, and we got engaged, and it was like, who's going to move to where? Are you going to come to London, or am I going to come to Spain? And I came to Spain because Manav was, he had his own business and he was self-employed. And then, I left my career. I was in investment banking, and I was in it for about 6-7 years, about to get to the level and the stage where I wanted to be. So, but I gave it up for love.
That's beautiful.
Not LoveRaw yet, just love. So yeah, but it was amazing. We moved, but unfortunately at that time, my father was quite ill. He had a brain hemorrhage.
Right.
So he was left in a nursing home needing 24-hour care, and so I was in a really difficult position, kind of going back and forth from Spain to UK, and about a year after we got married, he passed away.
Right.
So that was really hard for me, and I'd moved to a new country where you're supposed to be in southern Spain where you're in the sun and you're meeting friends and learning the language, and I was looking for a new job out there, but I was just not motivated to do any of that, and I was just in grief. And so I was like that for quite a while, maybe like several months, and then the one thing that got me out of it was going to these farmers markets in these remote little villages in Andalusia, and it was lovely. We met these amazing farmers, with like 3 generations, and produce was picked that morning. It was so fresh, and eating better made me feel good mentally, and it got me out of my black hole. Like, that really helped, and it was a chain reaction. Then I started eating better, less processed food, and no dairy and gluten, and then it just led to vegan, and I was making snacks for family and friends, and then it was a no-brainer. It was like, you need to take these to market. So I tried to do that. I thought, I'm going to do that in Spain, but it was too bureaucratic. They don't support entrepreneurs in Spain. Not really, not where we were.
No, they don't. You can't start a food business from your own kitchen. Like in the UK, if you get certified by the council, you can do it. In Spain, you had to be in a commercial premises. You needed to have, disabled access, changing rooms, separate. You needed to spend a lot of money before you could even sell the product. So
that's not how founders start, though.
No, it's not.
That's straight from the word go. That's going to completely quash entrepreneurialism.
Correct.
Across the state, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
And I couldn't, 3 months had passed and I'd not got anywhere. And then Manav's dad said, look, why don't you just come back to the UK and start from here? If you really want to do it, start from, come back. And I was like, I can't come back. I can't leave my home and my husband. And then the more, as time went on, it was just niggling away, and I thought, this is my passion, this is what I want to do. I went from working 11 hours a day in banking, I'm a hard worker, and I am ambitious, so to go from that to not having anything of my own, I needed that. And in a way, I poured all the grief that I felt with the passing of my dad into the business. As weird as it sounds,
no, I
that
get it.
Drove me.
That became your focus.
That became my focus.
It became emotional.
Yeah, it did.
It became everything.
It did. So I moved back to the UK and didn't have any listings, didn't have any product, didn't have any strategy or idea. Well, no, I had an idea, I just didn't have anything else. And a friend said, who's your ideal retailer? I said, I just want to supply the local deli up the road. And he was like, no, who is your ideal retailer? And I was like, Whole Foods. And he was like, so go to them. I was like, no, I can't go to Whole Foods. He's like, why not? I said, because they're Whole Foods and they're like, have national presence and, they've got 6-7 stores in the UK. I can't do Whole Foods. And then it was bothering me. I should do Whole Foods. I should go. And then I didn't even have a product. I made a sample bar in my blender, got some makeshift packaging with a hand sealer and went like I had a proper product, and emailed the buyer and said, I've got a product, can I come and drop it by? No, you know what buyers are like, email me and if we're interested we'll let you know. And then I was like, well, no. So the next day I just got on a train from Manchester, found out where his office was, got past the 2 reception desks, it's really, with the security, and then I said, yeah, I've got a meeting, can I meet Daniel? And she was like, yeah, I'll just go get him for you. And then I got really sweaty and I was like, I don't have a meeting really, and he's going to be really pissed off with me. So, but luckily he was Spanish. So I was like, hola, ¿qué tal? And, and then what we really got on, he was a really lovely guy.
What is the thing that you always put on your sign off? Is it head hustler?
Head hustler.
Head hustler.
Yeah.
And that is why, because you have just gone and given the perfect anecdote, the perfect...
Well, that's where it came from.
That's the hustle. You did it.
That is. And then he sat down.
So he wasn't annoyed, obviously.
He wasn't annoyed. He sat down. He gave me 10 minutes of his precious time, which I was so grateful for. And he tasted the product in front of me and he was like, look, it's a bit dry. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go back, I'm going to improve it, and I'll come back to you. And I sent him a new kind of improved product. And a couple of weeks later, he was like, look, we sat down in my team, and I thought he was going to say, look, it's not for us. But he said, we really like it. We really like what you're about, and we're going to take 500. I was like, what, 500 bars? And he was like, no, we're going to take 500 cases. And at this point...
Did you gulp? Did you go, okay?
I was like, yes. And he was like, can you do it in 2 weeks? I was like, yes. I hadn't a product. I hadn't the ingredients or the means to make it. But I mean, I was certified, so I could make a start, but that was a busy 2 weeks. I called Manav, I said, you have to come back from Spain, I need help.
And was that really then the start of the dynamic duo?
Still
really?
No, not yet.
I was always in the background, I think, just helping, supporting, logistically, commercially, and obviously supporting making the products.
Yeah.
Because it was 18, 20-hour days, I remember.
Was it?
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not kind of business focused. I'm creative, and that's my kind of strong point, but Manav was more business focused. So when I needed help with like accounts or operations and logistics, I'd be like, Manav, okay, can we do that? Can you manage this? And then so you were always there in the background, and then he came on board officially when 2 years in, when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had to stop. I couldn't. I was told not to work. So then it was like, Manav, can you help me?
Okay, so 2015, pregnant with your daughter.
Yeah.
Now the business is starting to get real momentum.
Yeah.
And this is where we're starting to hit the beautiful G, the growth.
Yeah.
So is that when you were then starting to have to really get massively involved with the business?
Full time. I think Rimi was in the UK
Yeah.
at the beginning, so in 2013 she was in the UK, I was still in Spain, so we were apart for a good year.
Really?
And then eventually when it sort of outgrew making it at home, we managed to get a contract manufacturer. 2014, Rimi came back to Spain, and she was just running it from Spain because obviously they were making everything, they were shipping it out, so we were okay like to manage it that way. But then after about a few months later, Rimi got pregnant, and she said, look, what do you want to do? Is this a lifestyle business, or do you want to go back and we make it big? And it was like we went.
What a discussion to have.
Over pizza. We made big decisions over pizza.
Is it lifestyle or is it big?
Is it big? She was like, what do you want to do? She goes, we can stay here. And I was like, you know what? Let's go back and we'll make it. Let's just try and grow it and get it as many places as possible. And then that was it. We came back, and then as soon as we came back, then I just joined full time. Rimi got complications when she was pregnant, so they said you have to stop working. So then I basically got more involved in everything.
Wow. So in terms of where, just take us to where we are now then.
Yeah.
Paint the picture, and then we can fill in all the gaps, because I must go to the Dragon's Den, because that's always very interesting when people go on Dragon's Den and turn down investment. But I want to go to that in a minute. But just take us to now, just so we straight away get some context in terms of, you said the word big, so where are you now then?
Well, different products and everything from that point of time.
Yeah.
Well, we're now in, I think it's about 11,000 stores. We're in BP. We launched into Tesco meal deal. We're the first vegan chocolates or plant-based chocolates to launch in the meal deal. Holland and Barrett, airports. We're in about 19 countries. We're sending off. We used to talk about boxes and pallets, and we're now we're sending containers, abroad. So there's just a different shift.
We're the second fastest selling plant-based.
No. We're the fastest selling.
There you go.
We're the
I
fastest.
always get confused with it.
We're the fastest growing plant-based chocolate brand in the UK.
There you go.
Okay,
And we're
that's
the second biggest.
a pretty cool title.
We're the second biggest in terms of sales.
Really?
But we're close to becoming number one, I think, in the next 3 or 4 months.
Really?
But our positioning is we belong in mainstream, because that's where there's demand for our product. People are looking for plant-based in mainstream confectionery.
So that's interesting. So is that how you define the product? It's plant-based. You don't use the word vegan? What's the...
We used to use the word vegan, and we still do, but we felt that plant-based is kind of more recognizable with consumers and more friendly. We feel like vegan is good, but it alienates a lot of people. They think maybe it doesn't taste as good, or it is a stigma, I feel, that's attached to it. So and we're trying to appeal to also flexitarians and non-vegans and people that are lactose intolerant. So we felt like plant-based was a friendlier approach and a friendlier description. So plant-based is probably our preference to use, but we do use vegan as well.
I think that's clever, because I am not a vegan. However, it's really hard when you start to get to know people like you guys so well, and also Meatless Farms who are in the watch list, and you start to really understand the impact that animals and what have you are having on this planet, and it does start to make you think, I need to change the way I do things. And I think that's a really good way to kind of pitch it at plant-based, because me personally, I'm not ready to go vegan. I may be in the future, but I'm not right now. And so that seems to be quite a clever way to position it, right?
Yeah, and that's who we want to appeal to, kind of flexitarians, maybe like yourself. That's
what I am, is it?
Yeah, maybe. Do you eat plant-based? Maybe 60-70% of the time, but you still enjoy your meat, and your consumption of meat is...
My consumption of meat is going down.
Yeah.
Especially because of talking to Morton from Meatless Farm with one of the FEBE founder stories we did recently. It's crazy to think you'd have meat for breakfast, meat for lunch, meat for dinner.
Yeah.
That really sticks in my mind now. Yeah. Maybe let's just reduce the consumption of meat far less. So I can see how now flexitarianism is a massive thing, because I'm very conscious of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that can't be ignored.
No.
It's not really a movement where, even like veganuary, it's, it was, and it still is quite big, but it's just becoming a normal, every day of the year thing. People just eating plant-based and maybe more vegan options. So it's definitely a movement. It's not a trend.
Yeah. What was it like when you got into into Tesco. I saw that was it a few months back? You announced it on LinkedIn and obviously had so much interaction, loads of high fives, people so happy for you. But it's a pretty awesome retailer to get into, isn't it?
It did feel like a real big inflection point, I think, for us. Like we finally did it. And it was, I don't know, we celebrated it with the team. It was like a Monday, I think. So we just went out with the team. But
we were launching into store on a Sunday. So, and you know what it is? We had known the listing was coming for months. So, you know how sometimes you just become a little bit immune to it? Like, okay, we're launching in Tesco, but there's so much involved in the setup and the logistics. So it's like, okay, in the middle of setting up, you're like, okay, it's coming, but when? So when we did find out a launch date, it was like, okay, it's here. And you don't know how you're going to feel, but it was on a Sunday. And, you know, we've got all the kids. Marv normally works on a Sunday, so he went to work and then he came back. And I was like, we have to go find the product. So I just carted all 3 kids in the car. You know, we've got 3 children, 7, 3 and 1. So they have no idea what's going on. Yeah. And Tesco was closing at 4 o'clock. So I was like, Manav, we've got to go see it in store today. So we were there at like 3:45, so I was like asking the sales assistants who looked really pissed off at me, like, why are you asking me to find a product at 3:45? I can see it on my system, but it's not on the shelf. But I was like, you have to find it.
You could have said I'm on the damn product.
yeah. Don't you know who I am? No, but my picture's on there. And then she was like, yeah, we don't have it in store. And then I just felt, you know, we just got. Leaving the house with 3 kids is an ordeal anyway. So, you know, we get to Tesco and then she's like, no, we can't find it, sorry. So we're like, okay, we have to go to a different one. We have to go to an Express. So we went to an Express, got all 3 kids in and out of the car again. And then we saw it. It was there on shelf. I asked the guy, 1 was on shelf and he was like, oh yeah, I have got them here. And then I just told him the whole story. The whole story of LoveRaw, and like we live 5 minutes round the corner, and you know this is our local store, and he was so excited.
Really?
Yeah. So we had all the children in the car.
How lovely! She shared the story.
So he got them on shelf, gave us prime position, sat all the kids on the floor. We took a picture.
Oh, this is beautiful! I love it. And you put those on.
It felt good. It felt really good.
What I'd love to talk about now is Dragon's Den. Now you went on Dragon's Den to pitch.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was very nerve-wracking, but it was very exciting.
Was it?
As well.
It was both.
Yeah, Manav pushed me into doing it.
Yeah, I was a coward.
He didn't go on
your own.
Because it was just Remy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just Remy.
Yeah, it was just me. I don't know why you didn't come on it.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I just said, you'll do a better job than me. That was what I think I said.
Yeah. So I was too tired to even think about it.
They pick on you less if there's one of you. There's
really?
2 of you, you don't know the answers. Yeah, we watched a lot of clips. There's 2 of you and you don't know the answer.
You did really well.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, thank you.
You did. Yeah. You did really well.
Yeah.
Like you knew your stuff. You clearly, the belief in your product was there. Yeah. But you didn't take the offer.
I didn't take the offer. It was, we were in need of money and cash at that time. We were just getting the Waitrose listing, so we needed money for working capital. But it just didn't feel right to go with the Dragons. They wanted, I think we were giving 5 or 10% and they wanted 30. And I just pictured those 18-hour days, you know, making the bars in the kitchen and how much effort I've poured into the business, and I was just not willing to give that away for TV entertainment. It's just not, it just didn't feel right.
So you would have entertained it for the right price?
Yeah. You know what it is? I'm very intuitive. I will go with what feels right to me, you know, in my gut.
Oh, you're lucky. That's a great thing to do. Yeah.
Is it?
I think so.
Sometimes it's not, because then it will, you know, sometimes I'll just say no to things and I should have said yes to things.
I think that's great. You're basically saying you know your mind, and I wish I was like that. That's a great thing to do.
It just didn't feel right.
Right.
So, yeah, I talked to the wall and I was like, no.
You really talked to the wall?
I talked to the wall. It was like this.
And what was it like when he said, feel good?
Yeah, it did feel good. I mean, we had an offer from Deborah, who was probably my favourite dragon.
One of my favourite famous dragons, yeah.
Yeah. And she could see the vision. She understood us, but still didn't feel right. And but it was just, you know, a pleasure to have experienced, you know, Dragon's Den and been on the show. But it was emotions were so high. You know, I'd had so much adrenaline on that day, you know, waiting around in the green room, waiting to be kind of called in, and I was in there for an hour, you know, defending my business for an hour.
Really?
Yeah. Because, you know, it is for, you know, entertainment. So they are, you know, really trying to prod you and waiting for, you know, for you to get something wrong so they can, you know, tear your business apart in that sense. So it was hard, and I do take things personally a little bit. You know, you have to decompartmentalize yourself and think, okay, it's just, you know, Dragon's Den, but I took it personally. So when, you know, I said no thank you and I got back in the lift and the doors closed, I just broke down and just started crying.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm a crier
Even though you'd
anyway.
won?
Even though I won, but I didn't feel like I won. And it was only months later I realised, okay, you know what, that was good. But what was in my head was, you know, Peter Jones and, you know, a few of the other dragons were like, no, it's not a great product. And,
right.
you know, you don't know your figures. You know, I think I got one figure wrong out of 12. And, you know, and it was, you know, it's my baby. It's something that is very special to me. You know, LoveRaw it means so much to me. You know, like from the beginning, it kind of stemmed from like the death of my father. And so that held something. So I was very emotional about it, but I came home and I was really upset. And
you went on a silent retreat when she left.
I was tired. I was still like feeding my daughter, you know, through the night,
Yeah.
and you know, I was working full time, so I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I had a burnout. So
well, I'm glad to say, Remy, and my love, you proved PJ wrong, didn't you?
Yeah.
yes,
It's a great product.
yeah.
Validation's there.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's buying it.
at the Dragon's Den pitch, I did say, look, the next idea is for an indulgent vegan category. And I couldn't say too much at the time, but I said, this is what's coming. So, and that is what we are doing today, and that's what they've missed out on. So,
Amen.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
yeah.
So let's go back to the current state now. So how many people do you have in the team?
There is about 13 plus me and Mimi, 15. There's about 17,
Yeah.
17, 18.
So you're building the LoveRaw family.
We're building a LoveRaw family.
We are.
And what is it like in terms of, you know, a lot of it has been you, it's not a bit you, and then all of a sudden you're building the team up.
Yeah.
How have you found that transition to go, I guess, from being, you know, you said the word, do you want to be lifestyle or big? You know, you're now building a big business and you're building a big team.
Yeah.
What's it been like now, you know, having to concentrate on the culture and people and what have you?
That's probably the most complicated thing, I would say. I think
people are complicated,
financials,
aren't they?
people are complicated, everyone's different and everybody sees things differently from their opinion, and everyone's got different drives and motivations. So when it's figures do one thing, you know, if you do this, it does this. So yeah, we just, you know, but we've got a really good team, and we've got a good team and a culture because they all hang out together, like weekly. They celebrate nothing. We do something at work. It's not a big thing. They'll just go and book a celebration for it, so they could go out together. So that way we know.
A lot of karaoke.
They do a lot of karaoke.
There's a lovely team.
They go on hikes on Sunday together. Yeah, they hang out.
Like
they're friends together. So
I bet you're proud of that, right?
Really proud of that. Really
when
like
Marv
that.
hires, you know, he does look at, you know, first and foremost, who's capable of the role, but then also, will they fit in, you know, the current team as well? And I think that's really important.
Yeah, so the boys don't get on that front, has he?
I'm doing good. I do, yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, Manav mainly kind of runs that side. You know, he is, you know, HR, and, you know, you've come on board, and I think you've built that culture really.
Hopefully.
Because, you know, in the meanwhile, you know, I have been busy at work as well, but I've had, you know, the 3 children, and you know, I didn't get mat leave, but you know, I've focused on new product development and marketing, but Manav's done, you know, a fantastic job of building that culture and kind of leading the teams and, you know, doing the raises. So
have you found, I must ask, how, you know, you are so committed to what you're doing. I guess you never switch off from what you're doing.
No.
What was that like as a period, especially, you know, you didn't say you had mat leave, but you're, you know, still full on as a mum, full on as a businesswoman. What is the, you know, what is it like to be in that moment where it's just, I guess, so intense?
It's just, you're in a bubble.
Yeah.
That's it. There's, it's just kids and home and work. kids, homework,
Yeah.
kids, homework. We don't have a social life.
Nope.
I don't have a lot of mum guilt. You know,
It's a big thing.
It is. There's a mum that lives opposite, and she's also got 3 children, and she's always doing like pizza nights, you know, on a weeknight, and Manav's like always teases me. She's like, she's making pizza with like friends, and it's a weeknight, and I'm like, no, you know, we've got to be up early. I've got to get the kids, you know, I've just come back from work. I haven't even made dinner. You know, I can't do what she does.
She's probably going to watch this as well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just a bubble, and I think the one thing that me and Manav both agree on is that we have to stay focused, and not that having a social life will lose our focus, but you know, I think we just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just
working kids.
Yeah, and we've only just started going on holiday because our 7-year-old daughter knows what like Centre Parks is now.
Okay.
Like you can't just go for a few days, you know, at grandma's. She's like, oh.
So I bet you're loving that, right? I bet that's been a lovely addition to life, being
Yeah,
able to holiday.
Yeah, it has.
Good.
So the dynamic of founders is something that I always find so interesting. And today we've had some really dynamic founders. I mean, it's been fascinating from that point of view. In fact, we've had everything. We've had a mother and daughter. We've had a doctor and, you know, a very corporate CEO who came together to create a business. You guys are a man and wife. What's the husband and wife? What's the kind of dynamic? How do you make sure you don't end up hating each other? Because you know, it must be so intense. You talk about the bubble, but you're always on it.
Up until about.
I mean, I'm being right. It's intense,
we traveled together to work, and I think up until only the last 6 months, we've sat next to each other for 9 years. 10 years? We actually sit next to each other. We travel together. We'll work. It's only the last few months that I've moved, to be with another team at the moment, while we're just going through something. So it's like, we actually sit all together all the time. But I think at the beginning we were at loggerheads. You know, we were arguing over flyers, the way the product should be, and I think it took a while. But I think after about 5 or 6 years, we found like, that's your domain, so you get final say. This is my domain, so you trust me, you know.
So that's something that's come out a lot today. It's respecting where people focus, and therefore it's almost like you've got to be respectful of those boundaries, and make sure you don't start to creep into them. Often
you can give an opinion, but
you respect the opinion.
But it's then one. If it's, you know, the MPD, it's the taste, it's the way the product looks, the brand. Rimi has final call. I can give my opinion and say I don't like it, or I completely disagree with it.
Cool.
But Rimi makes the final call.
Well, I'll be honest, if we didn't have work, I don't know what we'd talk about.
Kids. We spoke about the kids all the way for the last 4 hours in the car. We spoke about all the kids. Different. They're cute. He's cute.
But maybe we
They're
would
doing
have
this.
something to talk about, because we'd have our own work and we'd have our own work to talk about. But we do talk about work all the time.
Yeah.
We don't really have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you know, as you said this, I'm smiling because this happened to exactly myself and Charlotte quite recently. Day without the kids, doing business. We decided we're going to put. We booked a really nice place in London in between the meetings for a lunch. And we said, right, this lunch we're going to really talk about just nice stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking about work within 5 minutes, and that was it for the rest of the lunch. What else do you talk about?
And you enjoy work, so you want to talk about work, and you don't want to say, as soon as we get home we can't talk about work, because we haven't really got anything else to talk about. But
it's not like we talk a lot at work, because you're working on your things, I'm working, so it's like we're not talking constantly at work. We're all doing our own thing. So
but we don't. I mean, honestly, we don't get any time, me and Manav, to be husband and wife. We don't, and in actual fact, we do sacrifice that. Because
this is a very real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
This is what I'm getting at. It blows my mind what entrepreneurs put themselves through to follow their dream. The sacrifice, personal, financial, family. It's so much sacrifice that goes into it that it's everything, isn't it? It's deeply personal. This is your fourth baby. And it's everything, and it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like we're here. This is a husband and wife break for us.
This is a break.
Like we've travelled in the car together from Manchester to London. You know, it's just that time. And we've got like 3 or 4 investor meetings tomorrow, but that's husband and wife time. I'm not even
This
kidding.
is a break.
This is a break.
Yeah, that's because Marta was like, yeah, this is me and you time. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, don't you just really feel like having a holiday and going away? But he's like, this is like a break. I was
Well,
like, yeah.
I'm going to paint you a picture because you're building a lovely brand here, and eventually it's going to sell for a wad of cash, and then you can have lovely, lovely, lovely time planning your next business. I'm sure that's all basically how it'll be, won't it? Because
Yeah.
once you start, you think of the next thing. But no, and so let's talk about the future then. You've got some great listings.
Yeah.
You're in all the big stockists now.
Yes.
What is the next in this operation big? What is the next chapter? What is the next focus that you guys are really going for?
I'd say it's availability. We need to firstly make the listings that we have a success.
Yeah.
But then secondly, increase our distribution and really double down on building the brand and, the growth on that side, because we've got a fantastic product. We just need to get more eyes on the brand and building a kind of community around it and that brand recognition, and it has worked because we've been doing that for the last, 2 years, 18
You've got some
months.
cracking followers on Insta, especially, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. We've built a really good
The community's there.
community.
Yeah.
And when we look at the data, we measure it, with statistically, and it has increased slightly. So what we're doing is working. So I'd say that, and on the sales side.
Yeah, I'd add what Rimi said. Obviously, we're a vegan chocolate business. We're not just a one-trick pony with one product. So there's a lot of products that we're working on over the next sort of 12 months. Again, that haven't been
Any
done
nice little exclusives here you can break for us, or is it all strictly hush hush?
No, maybe another. When is this going live? Aired, sorry.
It'll probably go in the next 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, no, we won't be ready then.
Okay.
Okay, but we're working, and that's what we're working on. We've got to just keep improving the products, improving the taste,
Innovate, the innovation, bringing out something that doesn't exist, that's not yet out there, that consumers want.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't know they want it.
But they don't know they want it.
Until it's there. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds exciting.
And I would just want to, I know the word disrupt is a little bit cliche, but that's what we want to do. We want to disrupt the chocolate confectionery category. It's been led by corporates for so many years, the Mondelez, the Nestle, and it's just a little bit boring. It just needs, it needs a bit of life, in the brands that are there, that are offered, and, the taste, we're plant-based. We believe we should be sat there next to Mondelez and Nestle, and we are, when we got that Tesco listing, we're there, we're sitting with them.
Yeah.
So we've achieved
that feels
that
good,
goal.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does feel good, but we need to get more of that.
And what about international expansion?
Yeah, so
Because you've been in a few countries already, right?
Yeah, honestly, our main focus is the UK, but we've been getting so many inquiries. I think they either see us on socials or they come to the UK, they try the product. We've organically grown internationally in those countries, in those 18, 19 countries. And we're now, this year, because international's there's so much opportunity, we're now focused on 4 key countries or areas that we're focused on, Australia, Netherlands, France, and Middle East. We're focusing on those areas, and we're launching into retailers in all those countries over the next 3 to 4 months. So it's the plant-based or the same thing that we're seeing in the UK is happening all over the world in different countries. So that's just organic, and people are seeing our brand, they're tasting it, and they're realizing that it's obviously better than everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're obviously talking about a plant-based product. How does that therefore impact like other things associated with your product, like the packaging, for example?
Yeah. So no, it's good. Look, those things are important to us, and we got B Corp recently, and so which is good. So we're committed to all of those things. At the moment, our display cases, the boxes they come in, they're all recyclable, and the packaging that we have, the plastic that we have, is recyclable in supermarkets. So you can recycle it, but eventually it's obviously part of the journey is to get compostable, etc. That has a long shelf life, because retailers don't want a 3-month, 4-month shelf life product. They want a longer shelf life, especially with chocolate, because that's what they're used to. So for us, it's a part of the next stage. We're getting availability, more stores, more sales, and then building on you know, becoming. But we are recyclable. All the stuff, everything that we have is recyclable.
And must just, you know, you said the B Corp certification.
Yeah.
There. Just for anyone who doesn't know much about this is a big thing. You have to go through a lot of hurdles to get that B.
Yeah.
This is a mission to get it, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
And I think London as a city has more B Corp certified companies now than any other city in the world.
Oh, really?
So it is an amazing thing to have. Just in your, you'll put it better than me. What is a B Corp business? What does that mean to have that B Corp badge?
Just that you care about your community, your environment,
Your
people,
workforce.
your workforce, what you're doing out there in society,
mental health.
So your purpose and how
Yeah.
that impacts the wider community around you.
Your supply chain, you know, the environment.
Yeah.
It's your
Everything.
responsibility.
So it's basically indicative of you're a good company.
Yeah.
With a moral conscience.
Multifaceted.
Yeah.
You know,
Multifaceted,
in each way. You know.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am so grateful that we've had this opportunity to finally get in the studio together and record this story, because I think as people will be watching this, there's a lovely human, just the authenticity in you guys, and just the fact that you are a husband and wife working damn hard to make this dream happen. And you've been very honest about the fact it is a brutal journey. Yeah, it's lots of highs and it's also some pretty brutal lows. But it's so exciting to see that it's happening, and that you are, you're the UK, you're absolutely flourishing. You're now growing globally, and I had to take my cap off to you. Not wearing one, but it's just it's just awesome what you're doing, and it could be happening to two lovely people. So well done,
you.
and we're so proud to have you in our Growth 100 watch list. So
we're proud to be here.
Yeah, well, it's been great.
Thank you.
All the best, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.